Hey guys, what's going on? It's been a little bit. It's not as bad as yesterday, but I am a bit sunburnt. I didn't go to the beach or anything. I just went to get the mail yesterday and nature took its course. I was hoping I'd get mailed an idea that the algorithm would actually like, but instead I got this. Out of all the music genres that have emerged over the last decade, none has been quite as polarizing as Drift Phonk. Infamous for its dark sound, heavy bass, and of course, cowbell, Drift Phonk is everywhere with a constant stream of playlists, edits, and viral TikTok audios showing that people can't seem to get enough of it. Songs like Metamorphosis and Close Eyes have become online sensations due to how cool they can sound over Megamind edits. It's even started to get used by YouTubers in the background of their videos, showing that its popularity has the potential to rival the likes of trap. But while many people love Drift Phonk, there's also a huge amount of people that hate the genre, calling Drift Phonk a soulless and damaging play on music. These more critical listeners say that the beats are cringe, overrated, and hold them responsible for ruining their original predecessor, which if you don't know where Drift Phonk originates from, we're gonna get into it later. But how can a music genre have this much discourse around it? Does Drift Phonk have lore? Who did it hurt? How can an arrangement of songs create this much uproar? Well, I am Lufa, and today I'm going to explain all of it. Starting with the most common reason that people hate Drift Phonk, it's generic. Generic, repetitive, and unoriginal are all traits that people attribute to Drift Phonk. And while they might not always explain their reasoning behind these thoughts, I think I've come up with a pretty good explanation of why. And most of it goes into the problem of having such a recognizable sound. If you take a genre like rock, that is a very broad category. You're gonna find all sorts of different songs and albums that sound completely different from each other. For example, Led Zeppelin's By the Seaside sounds completely different from Yeah Yeah Yeah's Pin, yet they are both undeniably rock songs. This is because the core elements of rock are so lenient that two songs can sound completely different, yet both be considered a part of the genre. As long as you have the presence of at least one or two rock instruments, your song can be considered a product of the genre, which makes for a diverse world of rock songs that are able to experiment, yet remain united through those same essentials. Drift Phonk is the opposite though, as its elements are very honed in and specific. Already being a subcategory of funk, its requirements are much more narrowed down, and a song won't be considered Drift Phonk without them. These elements aren't just one or two instruments. To make a Drift Phonk song, you need cowbell melodies, 808s, a high tempo, distorted vocals, and a dark automobile aesthetic. That sort of small and fixed palette means there's a way higher chance that two artists who make Drift Phonk songs are gonna sound similar, compared to rock where that palette is much larger and open. And this is why Drift Phonk songs get considered to be generic, with people saying that all the songs sound too repetitive. Its core elements are so particular and widely followed that the larger part of songs are built much closer together than rock songs, because the vast majority of Drift Phonk songs are using the same set of components. Basically, if you make a rock song and I make a rock song, they can go in completely different directions. But if we both make Drift Phonk songs, our songs are going to sound much more similar due to the specific sound that we're both trying to reach. In the rock scenario, I could focus on a song built around the bass guitar, while you focus on one built around the electric, and they'll both be rock songs. But as for Drift Phonk, we're both going to be using those same cowbells and art because that's what defines our genre. And it doesn't help that Drift Phonk also happens to be one of the easier genres to make. So much so that there have been surreal memes made about speedrunning a new Drift Phonk song, with some producers being able to make a new song in just a minute. One reason for this is Drift Phonk's digital nature. You don't need a physical instrument or a high level of music theory to make a Drift Phonk song, because it's all possible through the use of virtual tools. This is similar to how lo-fi and house can have easier production due to them being more accessible genres to artists. If I want to create an authentic sounding country song for some reason, I need a physical guitar, because a virtual one is much harder to pass as sounding real. Even if I had a virtual plugin on my computer that allowed me to play a guitar, its arrangement on a piano roll would still sound unnatural. But when it comes to Drift Phonk, that's a genre that rarely uses physical instruments. The signature cowbell is a sound that is entirely used online, and therefore much more obtainable to an artist. You don't have to go to Guitar Center to buy one, because it already sounds authentic in digital audio form. The cowbell also makes simple melodies sound complex due to its characteristic sound. The same melody played on piano will sound much more ethereal and gritty through the Drift Phonk bell, and it can sometimes carry an entire song's instrumentation when layered over a beat. There's nothing wrong with this, and I'm not trying to sound disrespectful, but when you combine a genre that is already prone to sounding redundant with a quick and easy production process, you will get oversaturation. But let's move into something a little bit more societal. While many different people listen to Drift Phonk, there is a particular group that has become associated with the genre, and that is the Sigma NPCs.
Rise up, my fellow Sigmas, we're all our kings. Keep your head up, we fall down, and get back up and become king in Sigmas.
There have been plenty of videos made on these people, but basically they're those group of kids who are obsessed with Patrick Bateman, being a Sigma, and these emojis. They are known for often being misogynistic, immature, lacking empathy, as well as probably being 10 years old. Whether due to Drift Phonk's grittier sound or edgier visuals, the group has taken a liking to it as their anthem and become heavily associated with it. TikToks featuring their NPC-like comments have gone viral, as droves of them seem to gather on YouTube Shorts and unite under Drift Phonk songs. Additionally, edits for their unintentional role models often use use Drift Phonk as their theme songs, which just makes the stuff all the more cringy. Now when someone listens to Drift Phonk, they just picture Homelander drinking milk or a Bill Clinton kid trying to sound tough. A lot of people don't want to get caught listening to Drift Phonk for this reason. Even if they like it, it's embarrassing to listen to due to the reputation it's unfortunately been connected to. A stigma about Sigmas listening to Drift Phonk. This is similar to many other different types of media which have been ruined due to their fandoms. When something gets really popular, it's almost always going to reach an unfavorable crowd. And if that crowd is loud enough, internet history has shown us that they will drive everyone away and give the art a bad image. For example, Rick and Morty initially had a great reputation. It was considered smart, witty, and a breath of fresh air. But as many other YouTubers have already talked about, having a show that glorifies an egotistical jerk is going to attract bad attention. While Rick and Morty might have already encountered a bigger problem with PR, this one still holds too, with jokes about foul intelligent fans actually being pretty popular online. Even Minecraft, which is the #1 game in the universe, has been branded at cringe at one point due to its younger audience. No one wanted to play the game because it was considered a cringe kids game, but once that image was able to change, a renaissance started and everyone started playing it again. Which goes to show just how much weight an audience has on their game's reputation. Personally, I wish that art was more separated from its communities, but jokes about how League of Legends players never take showers are always going to be popular. And so Drift Phonk, being a genre that is everywhere, and everywhere associated with cringe 12-year-olds, is gonna get a lot of hate. Which leads into my third point, Drift Phonk's damage and overshadowing of its original genre. You see, there is a common misconception that Drift Phonk is Phonk itself, but that is not the case. Drift Phonk is a subgenre of Phonk, which originates from Memphis in the 90s. At the time, the genre was considered an underground scene that used low-fidelity production to spread and dark visuals to express the grief and stress that the city was experiencing due to its high crime rates. The spelling of Phonk came from artist Space Ghost Perp, who popularized the spelling as a way to spell funk. The genre was influenced by DJ Screw, DJ Squeaky, and the 3-6 Mafia, who among other artists wanted to get rap in the South taken more seriously. Compared to Drift Phonk, the original Memphis Phonk is much slower, uses more classic Memphis rap samples, and less intense cowbells. It is serious and gloomy, harping on the crime that loomed over the city. And it got so big that it actually created a bunch of subgenres, such as Phonk Wave, Jungle Phonk, and Ambient Phonk. All of these subgenres sound amazing and I really recommend listening to them. Jungle Phonk is my favorite, I think it's so underrated. But because of Drift Phonk's particular prominence, Phonk and all these other subgenres have been overshadowed by it. This eclipse is partially due to Drift Phonk's dropping of its subname. When Drift Phonk started trending on TikTok, Spotify sought to capitalize on the trend. So they made a playlist for Drift Phonk, except they dropped the drift and just named it Phonk. Now anyone who wanted to get an idea of what Phonk sounded like was presented with only one iteration of it to represent its entire legacy. It's really an L on Spotify's part, no matter which way you put it. Either their playlist curators didn't have enough knowledge about music to know about Phonk's other genres, or they purposely ignored them to capitalize on Drift Phonk's popularity. Simultaneously, people on TikTok started doing the same thing, and Drift Phonk and Phonk became completely synonymous, with the majority of people not knowing the difference. It's like if Spotify made a jazz playlist but only put smooth jazz songs on it, as if all the other forms of jazz didn't exist. Drift Phonk also has this bad reputation we talked about, and now that it has the name of Phonk, Phonk has a bad reputation around it, doing damage to all the other subgenres as well as the original grandfather genre. There's not really anything you can do about this, it's just how a lot of culture works. And it's an explanation for why Drift Phonk is disliked by a lot of the Phonk community. In the mainstream eye, the word Phonk is no longer a response to Memphis violence, but instead the anthem of suburban iPad kids. In my personal opinion, I love every genre of Phonk, and I don't think Drift Phonk is bad at all. I think it's awesome and maybe even the most popular for a reason, but what it did to Phonk is a great example of how virality can affect art. By getting popular, Drift Phonk was spread to and taken up by a cringy group. It's not the artist's or listener's faults, it's just what happens when something gets big. As for Drift Phonk's overshadowing of Phonk, you could attribute it to artists who didn't classify their songs properly, labeling their Drift Phonk songs as just Phonk to get found easier, or give most of the blame to Spotify's corporate ignorance. But even without those things, you can't really say the same thing wouldn't happen. People naturally shorten phrases, and without the knowledge of a somewhat niche genre, they're probably just gonna call it Phonk. But what do you think? Did this video change your thoughts on Drift Phonk? Should the age of internet access be raised? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you like this video, please consider sticking around and checking out another one. I haven't quite decided on what niche to focus my videos on, but I do have a small library of gaming, music, and commentary videos, none two of which are the same. Thanks for watching. I'm Lufa.